The Belgian Grand Prix that took place this past Sunday was a spectacle that will be etched in the annals of Formula One history for a multitude of reasons. For the Red Bull team, it was a day of disappointment and unfulfilled expectations. Max Verstappen, their star driver, was unable to make the headway that the team had anticipated. His teammate, Sergio Perez, experienced a dramatic fall from grace, dropping from the front row to a disappointing eighth-place finish. McLaren, on the other hand, was left to ponder the tantalizing possibilities of what could have been had their driver, Lando Norris, managed to secure a better start. However, the real story of the day was the performance of Mercedes' George Russell. His drive was nothing short of incredible, crossing the finish line in first place and securing a 1-2 finish for Mercedes. His subsequent disqualification, however, was a bitter pill to swallow, especially considering how audacious his strategy had been to secure the race win. Post-race, Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion, was livid with his team over his race strategy. It was a massive shock to the seven-time world champion that he hadn't won the 2024 Belgian Grand Prix when he crossed the finish line. He was fully aware that he was trailing George Russell, but he must have been perplexed as to how he ended up in that position. On the third lap, Hamilton overtook Charles Leclerc to take the race lead. From then on, as long as he drove clean and consistent laps, the race win should have been his. Having led over 5,000 laps over the course of his career, it's a job he's become quite adept at. When Hamilton's teammate, George Russell, pitted on lap 10 from P5, a lap before Hamilton, there couldn't have been any thought in Mercedes or Hamilton's mind that George would pose a threat. However, on lap 26, Russell realized that his best chance in the race was to not stop a second time and instead make the most of a hard tire that improved as it wore. His race engineer, Marcus Dudley, was not convinced when George suggested it, saying that he should be pushing to prevent an undercut attempt by Lando Norris. Russell, however, was adamant. "Are you saying these tires won't go to the end?" Russell challenged him. "They will," Dudley conceded, "but we think it's quicker to stop." What Mercedes hadn't taken into account at that point was how difficult it was to pass around the Spa circuit this year. The shortening of the DRS zone on the Kemmel Straight, combined with the difficulty of getting close to the car ahead due to dirty air, meant that to overtake you had to be significantly faster than the car ahead. Russell was adamant. "At the moment, they're just going quicker and quicker. The tires? I'm still going green, mate," he said. Afterwards, Russell confirmed that the lap time gain mostly came on the new sections of track. Russell's pleas were starting to sway his team. Dudley let him know that Mercedes were discussing his proposal, but as it became clear that he would lose multiple positions if he did stop, it was starting to become worth the gamble. "And George, just confirming, you're happy to stay out?" Dudley double-checked. "Yes," George affirmed before his engineer had even finished speaking. It was a gamble that appeared to have paid off as the race wound down. Hamilton was taking over half a second a lap out of his teammates' lead lap after lap as the race approached the final 5 circuits. But once he got within DRS range, that advantage disappeared. The double hit of dirty air in that shortened DRS zone meant that he was unable to get close enough to make a pass at any point on the circuit. It was an inspired strategy call from George Russell, which no other team or driver saw as a possibility. However, while Russell celebrated, Hamilton was furious. In the post-race interviews, Hamilton appeared completely dejected and placed the blame for losing the race directly on his team. "You have to put the faith in the people that you work with. So I put my faith in my strategists. I should be able to lean on them fully. I told them that the tires were fine, and they pulled me in. Did I know that I was at risk of getting one stop by my teammate? They didn't tell me that," he said. Hamilton was almost silent as he sulked in the cool-down room and looked completely dejected on the podium, despite his team securing a fantastic 1-2 finish. At that point, it was a race lost for Hamilton, not a second place secured. If he thinks that race strategy is a problem for him now, though, he isn't going to enjoy his time at Ferrari. George Russell's car was found to be 1.5 kilograms under the minimum weight limit during the post-race scrutineering and was disqualified from the race. The coincidence of it being Steward Document 44, that gave car 44. The win wasn't missed by fans either. To be disqualified for the car being underweight is a shocking mistake by Mercedes, and the steward's document revealed that it was exactly that. The FIA document stated, the team acknowledged that there were no mitigating circumstances and that it was a genuine error by the team. George Russell's audacious strategy call during the Belgian Grand Prix, which saw him cross the finish line first, was likely the very reason for his disqualification. His decision to run his hard tires for an extended 34 laps was a bold move that ultimately cost him the win due to the weight implications. As tires wear down over time, they lose rubber and consequently become lighter. Given the length of the lap at Spa, there's no cooldown lap. Drivers simply reverse down the pit lane. Normally, drivers would drive offline on their cooldown lap to pick up the rubber marbles that are cast off as the tires wear down, thereby adding weight back onto the car. However, Russell was unable to do this. The missing weight of 1.5 kilograms may sound significant, but we're only talking about a loss of approximately 375 G from each tire. Considering that the tires weigh between 9 to 11 kilograms each, that's only a loss of about 4.2 to 3.4% of the tire's weight. It's standard practice for F1 teams to take expected tire wear profiles and the likely reduction in weight into account when they settle on their race weights when adding ballast to the car. However, due to the unpredictable weather over the Belgian Grand Prix weekend, there had been no hard tire running in race day conditions prior to the race. And with no one even considering a one-stop strategy before Russell did on lap 26, Mercedes simply hadn't accounted for it in their calculations. According to Mario Isola, Pirelli's head of motorsport, and the man in charge of all F1 tires, the lack of marbles from a cool-down lap could easily account for the difference in weight that led to Russell's disqualification. He stated that 1.5 kilos on 4 tires is possible if you're talking about the pickup. However, that lack of a cool-down lap can't be blamed. Mercedes knew there wouldn't be a cool-down lap and should have accounted for it when telling Russell that the one-stop was possible. It was a miscalculation by the team, which should never have happened. So while Hamilton was furious at Mercedes for not giving him the option of a one-stop or telling him that his teammate was doing one, he might be relieved now that they didn't. Mercedes team principal, Toto Wolff, admitted his team had no excuse for the error that cost George Russell the win at the Belgian Grand Prix, which he described as a massive blow for his driver. Russell made his feelings clear in a post on social media, describing the disqualification as heartbreaking. At the end of the day, Hamilton got what he felt like he deserved, but for the Mercedes team as a whole, it was a desperately disappointing result. They should have gained 25 points on Ferrari in the battle for third place in the Constructor Championship, but instead, they only gained 2. Nonetheless, going into the summer break, Mercedes appeared to be in the ascendancy in one of the most competitive championships in recent memories. Do you think Mercedes messed up by not helping Hamilton win the race? And what do you think of Russell's disqualification? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Formula One and want to stay updated with the latest news, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Keep the pedal to the metal, and we'll see you at the next race.